All right, so I want to get into the background of PV and how it came to be here in the Center for Health Equity and in this relationship that we have with the council folks. And then just so you all know the next couple of steps here, Monica's going to talk about the steering committee commitment, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So if you have questions, please feel free to write them down unless anyone has like a burning question that they need answered right now. I'm happy to answer. Okay, well let's keep pushing. All right, so background of PB in Louisville Metro government. So I told you all that our director, Dr. Brandy Kelly Pryor, she came here in December 2015, and one of the very first things that she did was ask community, what do they want to see with us? And we were told very clearly, we want you all to focus on decision makers and changing institutions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we did. Our very first project under Dr. Kelly Pryor was called My Dream for Lou. It was a policy summit. Some of you may have been in attendance. October 6th through 8th, we hosted a policy summit where community members were able to submit pictures in advance, answering the question, what is your dream for Louisville? Or where do you see hope in your community? And so people would answer that question with pictures and then send in a narrative. And so our team got together and really themed, we looked at all of the narratives, we themed, we coded, we did all of this academic stuff with it, and came up with 4 different themes that the folks who had submitted photos wanted to have us talk about to really set the agenda for what the actual policy summit was going to be. So those themes were community capacity building. People were very, very clear that they wanted community to be able to have the opportunity to learn more, right? Because when you learn more, you know more, you do more, right? And so how can community understand the processes that affect them more was really the major question. Quality housing, not just housing, right, but quality housing, regardless of where you are in the community. Recreation and public space for healing and social change. So community was very, very clear. Actually, one of some of the pictures that came up over and over again were the Big 4 Bridge and how many people felt how much of a safe space that was for them, regardless of who they were, to be able to go and find healing or be in community with other folks, right? So for healing and social change. And then economic development and investment. So this is what community came up with, and we were like, cool, let's roll with it. So once folks came onto came to the summit, we took them through a process. And so this process was designed by the Center for Health Equity. We're very proud of it, that's why I had to say that. So we started them off, of course, they had the photos with their themes, and then we asked everyone who decided whichever themed group they wanted to go into as a team of folks, they walked through a process of, okay, this is what people are saying they want to see in Louisville. Why are they not seeing this? Or what are the barriers to seeing this? So they identified 3 to 5 issues for why they weren't seeing what community had said they wanted to see. Then they selected one issue, they voted on an issue, and then they thought through, what are the root causes? Y'all heard me say this already today, so you know I love people going through root causes, so what are the real reasons that we're not seeing this? This is the problem, but why is this problem existing today? Then they voted on the actions that they wanted to take to address that root cause, and then they decided on the policy that they wanted to speak to whatever root cause they selected. So it was really interesting because 2 out of the 4 groups selected participatory budgeting as a policy that they wanted the health department and the Center for Health Equity to move forward. Cool, so that was 2 years ago, here we are, and we're doing it, and we're very, very excited about it. But of course I have to give credit to the community organizers who probably in the weeks leading up to the policy summit were hosting their own community conversations around participatory budgeting. And so for me, that's just an example of how powerful it is for community organizers to do the work that they do, and then for Metro government to listen, right? Because then we were able to be so aligned. And we've heard so much good feedback from folks who are very excited that PB is even something that's happening in Louisville. And we got big plans for it. Okay, so what is this then? So Monica gave you all a very high level, this is what the process is, this is our timeline, but what does it actually look like here in Louisville? So we're calling this very pilot, very new project, Our Money, Our Voice. There is always room, as a steering committee, if you all feel very, very strongly, we're happy to discuss changing that name and come to a consensus on it, but there's lots of excitement around it, so don't change it. So we're in this pilot stage. So what does that mean? So we are very, very much testing this out. We have funders and decision makers, so council folks and people in metro government who are watching this project to see, is this something that's even possible, right? Is it gonna be worth the amount of effort and resources that goes into it? Is community gonna even care? Are they gonna even wanna participate? So that's really what we're doing here. We are trying to put absolutely every single resource that we can into making this as successful a project as possible, because we know that this is something community wants, because we've been told that, right? By 2 different groups of folks. So we're in our pilot project. So that you all understand what the funding looks like, I'm gonna tell you what the funding looks like as of right now, but Monica had named that we're still building some of that funding. So Metro Council members, 6 and 8, so Councilman Cohn and Councilman James, both offered, oh, and I wanted to name, Councilman James is out of town tonight, and that's why he's not here. He wanted to say, he's really excited about this and will be engaged with you all in person any chance that he can. But he's just out of town tonight, so I don't want you all to think that he's not around. So Councilman James and Councilman Cohn offered up $50,000 of their capital infrastructure funds. And like Monica was saying, that essentially means that whatever this money goes to has to be something that's built. So it can't be to start up a nonprofit, right? It can't be to pay staff or whatever. It has to be something that's created. And so how this has looked in other cities, and I think Monica had given the example of North Carolina, are park benches or water fountains or sidewalks or adding a live chess game to parks. Or, there's so many examples of what people can come up with, because pretty much us saying that it needs to be built is like, that means it needs to be completely new. And people love that space. And then, so there's $50,000 from each council person, and then the health department is contributing $50,000 from what is formerly known as our Mayor's Healthy Hometown Grants. And we made that decision because really, as we think about how are we gonna make the greatest impact, we wanna align our resources to what's gonna do that. So collectively, we have $150,000. Each district will be able to vote, people who are residents in each district will be able to vote on their district's money. The steering committee, when we come together on the 21st, will be able to decide exactly what's gonna happen with that $50,000 that's coming from the health department. So is it gonna be split evenly between the 2 districts, and each district will be able to have a total of $75,000, or will it be $50,000 that people in any district can vote on and propose for? We're open to whatever community wants us to do with that. We are also in conversation with funders. I told you all funders are really interested in this process and really engaged with what it's gonna look like. So we're in conversation with funders to raise another $50,000 so that each district can have a total of $100,000 to vote on. So be engaged with that. If you all have connections, we're the ones that you wanna talk to so we can get that going. And then these are just maps of the 2 districts. So District 6 is kind of very, very high level, Old Louisville, California, Victory Park, Limerick. If I missed a neighborhood, charge my head and not my heart. And then the Highlands is District 8 is very high level, the Highlands, Tyler Park. Again, if I missed a neighborhood, charge my head and not my heart. Okay, so the goals, right? So oh yes?
Is there a common border between the 2?
No, there's not. That would be nice, right? Yeah. Yeah, and actually, and we'll get into some of that when we do the 21st training, but it's really interesting because so District 6, for example, there are some neighborhoods that have like 3 blocks of their neighborhood in this. So Russell, for example, has 3 blocks of that neighborhood in District 6. So we're gonna have to be really intentional about how we're making sure that the people who are voting are part of the district, and how we're able to kind of confirm that and verify that, right? But yeah, that's an excellent question. Okay, so you all know where our goals are. You all know we are trying to make this a process that is county-wide, that any resident here in the county can be able to hear me say all of them. And I may not know which one I'm talking about at the time. So please work with me as I try to remember who is who. But our city, our voice, so there are 3 consultants Two actually in particular who will be traveling from Chicago into Louisville to help build the entire process. So when we come together on the 21st, really what we are doing is defining what has to happen, what does engagement look like, who gets to make decisions, who gets to vote, right? So voting, that question, just to give you an example of one of the rules that you'll come up with, some cities have said that voting can happen for folks who are 16 and over. Some cities have said that voting can happen for folks who are 13 and over. We want this process to be as big as possible, so we want everyone to be able to vote. And that's the best thing about, I don't even know that we said that. That is the best thing about participatory budgeting, is that you can vote regardless of whether you have documentation, or regardless of whether you're over 18 or under it, regardless of whether you have a felony or not, right? You can vote for all of these projects. It has nothing to do with your formal city's voting process. So we want to open it up to as many people as possible, but you all are going to be able to actually define what that looks like. So when we come together on the 21st, and we'll be here, and I don't know that we said this in the email, so my apologies if we didn't, but next time when you all come here, if you didn't, you'll be able to park on the lot. So we'll have the gates open so you can come on in. We'll have food, more than just snacks, we'll have food for you, and we'll do this, we'll work together, so we will really, really get to know each other. Okay, so I want to talk about next steps and then get into the questions that we have. And I think we're going to get y'all out of here super early, so that's great. So, I know, yes, right? We love getting out of things early. Okay, so the 21st is the whole day, the 9 to 4 writing the rules. You'll hear us call it writing the rules or writing the rule book. If you don't have that information, please make sure to connect with Monica after, and we will make sure to get you that, but just remember it will be here. And then after that, or at that space, we also want to determine how often as a general group of folks do we want to meet. Do y'all want to meet monthly? Do you love us that much? Or do you want to meet quarterly or whatever? You all will be able to make that decision. So on the 25th, which is just that next week, we're going to do, and by we I mean the Center for Health Equity and the Health Department, we're going to do a presentation to the mayor's leadership team. Monica had named this earlier. And so the mayor's leadership team, if you don't know the hierarchy of how metro government works, it's the mayor, obviously, and then it's chiefs. So these are folks who report directly to the mayor. And then each chief essentially has a group of departments that they supervise, that they oversee. And so we are going to have a meeting with the mayor and his chiefs on July 25th to present what you all discussed in the writing the rules. So our city, our voice, our voice